So I got a meeting set up for you at ABC. Just got to get down the date with Julia and everything.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Nani yatenda? Baka ni sunya. Oi. Kyotsukeiro, kyo.
Season 2, Episode 6, The Acupuncturist.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, Jeff...
Who are you?
I'm Susie Essman.
And who am I?
You're Jeff Garlin.
Thank you. Just need to clear that up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I don't think I ever saw this episode. And it was the strangest episode we've ever done.
I'll know further where I can make that clarification, but it's certainly in the running, at least top 2, the worst top 3. And by the way, watching it again, I didn't quite understand it.
There were so many things that I didn't understand.
Yes.
And usually I understand everything.
So why don't we go through it?
Let's go through it.
Okay.
We start out with Larry's face in the cradle.
Mm-hmm.
And, that shot up his face in the cradle. He's getting acupuncture.
Is that called a cradle?
Yes, the
when you
face
get a massage,
cradle.
the face thing,
cradle.
He's getting acupuncture.
What did I just think of? Cradle.
Cradling balls. But nonetheless.
Larry's face is in the face cradle, and he's getting needles. He's at the acupuncturist, and he wants his neck fixed. And the acupuncturist says 4 to 6 weeks, 2 times a week, and I'll cure you. And Larry's completely cynical about that. Right? The healers, the whole thing about healers. He doesn't believe in healers.
He's cynical.
He's cynical.
Yeah.
And he never get results with these healers. And the acupuncturist has 700 years in a family of acupuncturists. It's his honor. And Larry says,
if you can fix my neck, I'll give you $5,000. And if you can't, then I don't pay for any of the treatments.
$5,000?
$5,000.
If I treat you and you recover?
Yep.
And if you do not recover, I get nothing?
You get nothing.
Well, it would be like taking candy from a baby, but...
Really?
Yes.
I love your confidence.
And he's making that bet because he believes he's going to win. Larry believes he's going to win.
Yes.
And he's going to get free acupuncture and not have to pay $5,000. And the acupuncturist, it's like taking candy from a baby. He's completely confident that he could fix him.
Yes.
And I tend to believe the acupuncturist in this scene. And he's a man of honor. Larry says he's a man of honor, and honor comes into play. And then we see Larry at the market, which already, when have we ever seen Larry in a market? In real life.
Oh, no, we've done episodes with Larry in the market.
That's true. But he's generally not in a market.
Was it the one where he was getting things for the hotel? He was in charge of the mini bar.
Yes, that was
but
last season.
I think there's another couple.
There are a few.
Yeah.
But he's not a market goer.
He's not. But one of the things that keeps Larry funny, he doesn't, look, COVID kind of changing, but I only can speak for pre-COVID. He would go to the grocery store. He would do anything out in public, and that kept him in touch. You see people who don't know that you scan things still.
By the way, I think that to me, that was always a problem with comedians who were funny in New York and then came to L.A. They got out of reality in L.A. sometimes, and whereas in New York, you're always dealing with the elements in a way that keeps you sharp.
Keeps you sharp, yeah.
So he recognizes the guy behind the deli guy, Barry.
Right.
Barry Weiner, who says, don't pity me, no need for pity. And we realize that Barry's been doing it for a while, being a deli guy. He orders a quarter pound of Swiss, a half a pound of turkey. And we find out that Barry was an SNL writer back in the days when Larry was an SNL
This
writer.
gentleman, Barry, is played by Jeremy Kramer.
Right.
Who, speaking of West Coast, he was one of the most original, funny voices in comedy. What I don't see now in
tell
comedy,
me, because I don't know him.
No,
I never knew him.
What I don't see now is eccentricity amongst comedians. They're almost like pop stars.
So you wouldn't see an Andy Kaufman. You wouldn't see a Gilbert Gottfried.
Because nobody would embrace that stuff. And by the way, who falls in that same line? Jeremy Kramer. Always been in awe of his
Larry
work.
David when he was doing stand-up.
Larry David, too. So these eccentricity people, to my mind, don't exist anymore.
Tell me in what way he was eccentric. Tell me a little bit about him.
First off, you never knew what he was going to say. He wouldn't walk off like Larry. You never knew what the topic was. He would go on stage many times in a black felt hat and a cloak.
Oh, really?
Just for the beginning. He just was, you had to watch him because you didn't know what was about to happen. He was not Pat.
So he was interesting.
Yes.
And original.
By the way, the only people like that now, you just watch them because they're great. You don't watch them as much because they're original or eccentric. But a lot of comedians now, and a lot of comedians now who are successful started back in those days. And they know Jeremy Kramer, but I'm saying outside of the people who knew him and were in
So he was what we call a comics comic.
He was a comics comic, unequivocally. I remember hearing a lot about him, and he was San Francisco based. I remember hearing a lot about him, and then when I saw him, he did not disappoint.
Great, and he was terrific in this episode.
And by the way, as I'm apt to say, a lovely man.
And he, in this scene, he starts to talk to Larry about his situation with his father.
Prior to that, hold on, let's take a step back. Something happens that's unusual at this point in the series. If a guy coughs into his hand and still uses his hand, the episode, that's part of the fabric of the episode.
They'll say cut, usually, if something like that. If it's not planned, they'll say cut. But you're saying here, it's in the fabric of the episode.
It's not in the fabric of the episode because Larry lets it go.
Right. That's what I mean.
So unusual.
We don't say cut. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't say cut. So it goes on, and obviously that was a take that Larry liked. But that would not go unnoticed now. It would usually be in a script. Someone coughs, boom diggy. We are going about that the whole episode, because he gets indignant, Larry. And so
I could tell that was not meant to happen.
No, it's not meant in the script, but the fact it was left in, I found strange. All right, go ahead.
So then he talks about the situation with his father. His father's dying. He had a triple and a quadruple, and his father clearly has a lot of money, but he won't give Barry any money until he's dead. And Larry says he knows you're working at a deli. He knows it's amazing you came in here today. You could really help me out. And now you see Larry's face.
But Larry's also going on by, why do they wait till the death? Why can't they do it now? Which, and by the way, not many, but I've known a few comedians who even appeared on the great talk shows who you'd see them selling men's suits afterwards. And you have to have a lot of humility to be able to do that.
It's happened to me many times where I've run into somebody that I started with, for example, and they're the deli man or whatever.
Yeah, but they probably weren't good, and you started with them.
That's true, and there were people who were good who why?
These were all people that were successful, that were on talk shows, couldn't work the road anymore, whatever it was, and
things come into play. Depression.
You don't know the backstory. Drugs.
Exactly. Alcohol, mental illness. We don't know the backstory, but
they can be spending their whole career writing.
And it takes a tremendous amount of fortitude.
That was forced in. I apologize.
Yeah. It takes a tremendous amount of fortitude, even if you are talented, to
keep
navigate
going.
This
business. My God. It is a difficult navigation.
Yeah, it is.
By the way, I've been doing it 40 years, still navigating. But with today's world, one thing I do have that helps me is radical acceptance. Anything that's going on, I accept it. I may not like it, but I completely and utterly accept it.
So Barry says,
it's really amazing that you came in here today. It could really help me out.
Why?
I need to borrow $5,000.
Of course
so
you do.
I can get,
Of course, yeah.
I'll be able to pay you back as soon as he goes.
Yeah, when do you expect that'll be?
Very soon. Very soon.
He's got that nasal little, you just see the schleppiness of him. He's terrific.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing you came in here today. You could really help me out. And we see Larry's face. And Larry literally says, "Oi." And we just know a favor is in the making, and it's going to be a nightmare.
It's not good.
No, it's not good. And he asked, Barry wants to borrow $5,000, and I'll pay you back when my father dies.
Which is a good setup.
Yeah, great setup.
That's really great.
Great setup.
And this relationship, by the way, through the episode, this relationship works like a charm.
Barry and Larry.
And Larry, that storyline works like a charm.
Works beautifully.
Yep.
And later on, when his father, all works great. Yeah. And Larry goes home, and Cheryl's like, You gave the acupuncturist $5,000. You gave Barry Wiener, who she calls an asshole, which is out of character for Cheryl.
Right.
That struck me.
Well, she really doesn't. At this point, she's not crazy about me, but we're copacetic.
Yeah, but you know what? That was a little jarring to me because we don't usually hear Cheryl say that.
It's just a tone moment that nobody caught,
right,
or nobody knew to catch.
And Larry goes, he says, you gave that asshole Barry Wiener $5,000. And Larry says he's not an asshole. He's just shy. And you're in the shy asshole confusion.
Right.
And
which maybe that's why she said asshole to set that up.
But then another thing she says to him, which was surprising to me, she says,
people come to you with their hands out. You can't say no.
I have trouble saying no.
You know why? Because you're a pussy. I'm being
Maybe
frank.
I'm nice. You have nice pussy
believe me,
confusion.
no,
Maybe
I
I'm
know
just
the
nice.
difference.
you're a pussy.
Yeah.
And that was this was a different Cheryl we're seeing.
Actually, it was up until then. Now we haven't seen that side. And I bet you post this, we didn't.
We don't really see
it. When Larry doesn't like something, I call it the lemon face. He looked like he just sucked on a lemon.
Well, I call it, he looks like he just smelled shit.
Oh,
that's what it is to me.
Well, lemon face is nicer. And let's go in a different direction, Susie. How dare you get scatological? Anyhow, so he's probably in editing made the lemon face when he saw this and said never again, because he does realize stuff.
Because it was jarring to me.
Very jarring. But I also want to say it's very interesting. And we did an episode about this with Larry thanking the guy for the meal and not the wife. Played by Amy Aquino.
Yeah.
And he says, why? He makes all the money.
Also on a later episode where Cheryl says something to the extent of, loving you is my job. So she's married to him. She's got to deal with him.
Yeah.
We know we're married. Whose money is whose money?
By the way,
you always
Sari,
made more money. I always made more money. I don't look at it that way.
for my money.
Yeah.
To protect me.
Right.
And Sari, it is her job to keep an eye on me.
Right.
I don't give her that job. She wanted that job. I'm just saying. I don't assume that anyone would do that for me. I think there's something wrong with her, to be honest.
May I say she's a saint?
She is a saint, and that she wants that job.
But I don't think about, if this is the power of a intimate relationship. I never think about, I make more money than my husband. I never think about that. It's our money.
Do you know what I'm obsessed about? You making more money than your husband. I can't stop thinking about it. All right.
So then we find out also that they've been invited to Barry's wife, whose name is Carol's surprise party.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, no. At this point, something happens. You're skipping over.
I'm going to get there. The flowers.
Oh, I thought that, they're just invited.
Yeah, they're invited. They haven't been there
Okay.
yet. They're invited. We get that information. Doorbell rings, and a beautiful bouquet of orchids has been delivered to Larry. Cheryl then says also, did you give him a $5,000 tip? She's being very acerbic in this episode.
But she knows, by the way, that he may lose $5,000 in his bet with him if Larry revealed that. But I also want to say, Larry and I had the same acupuncturist, and Larry did receive orchids from our acupuncturist.
Okay, I'm glad. So let me just say, we didn't say yet, the orchids are from Kazoo, his acupuncturist.
Yes. So Larry and I had the same acupuncturist, a sweet, delightful man. I used to love when he would say to me, would you lie on the back? Like he'd say it like that,
Yeah.
and I would do anything. I was hypnotized, but he was excellent at his job.
And he sent orchids to Larry. Why?
Not to me.
Why did he send
To
orchids
this day,
Larry?
we have no idea. We've
Okay, because
discussed it.
I just felt like this was such a random thing.
Nope, it is
the orchids.
based on reality.
Good
Orchids
to know.
specifically. That's why he is curious, asking everyone later on, which leads
And
to
he
something I don't understand.
It didn't make sense to me. We'll get there. But did he ever find out why
No,
the
I'm saying
acupuncturist?
Larry and I have talked about it, and the man passed away. So it's a secret, because I would have gladly said to him, because I have no thing. I would go, do you remember sending Larry David orchids? Yes, I
would
did.
also like to
tell me why.
I'd
And
like
I
to
never-
ask our audience if and they could weigh in if anyone has been sent orchids by their acupuncturist. If this is a thing,
Right.
we don't know.
I don't
It's a
know.
mystery.
It's a mystery.
So
By
he
the way,
gets.
in today's day and age, and it didn't really exist then in a big way, you can actually type in acupuncture and orchids and see what comes up.
How do you do that, Jeff?
Well, you do it with a Purim mask on. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, and then we cut to after he gets the orchids from Kazoo, his acupuncturist, and he's perplexed by it.
Yeah.
We cut to Larry and Jeff eating in a Japanese restaurant.
Right.
We got a Japanese theme here. And all along, this Japanese music is playing in the background, which creates a kind of eerie, weird...
No, but you've never been in a sushi place that has
Of
the
course.
Japanese
But
music?
there was something about this episode where everything seemed
No,
a
I'm
little
not saying the episode.
eerie.
I'm saying that Japanese restaurant is not. And then the idea that he says to me, have you ever heard of such a thing? And I say the most ignorant thing, yet funny, but terribly ignorant. I think it's a Japanese gay thing.
Yes.
Where would I get that information? How did I figure that
I have
one
that
out?
written down right here.
Yeah.
We also find out in this episode that you are also going to the surprise party.
Yes.
And
We're all going to go together.
And that
Am I
you're going to
picking
go
them
together.
up?
You're picking them up.
Right.
And then Larry asks the waiter. The waiter comes over and he looks like that wonderful actor
Is
from
this
the Seven
before or after
Samurai.
Scott Adsit comes over?
Before.
Okay.
He looks the waiter looks like that wonderful actor from the Seven Samurai, and I forgot his name.
Oh, yeah. Tarisha Mifune, I think.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. He's not the leader guy. Tarisha Mifune plays the crazy guy.
He plays the samurai.
Yeah, they're all samurais.
No, he's the samurai.
Correct, but it's the guy, the shaved head guy, who is the.
Did you find him attractive back then when you saw the movie? It's a genius
No, I
movie.
love that movie.
Kurosawa.
I love that movie. And
Fantastic.
for those of you who don't know, the Magnificent Seven is based on that movie.
Now, there are people out there who don't even remember the sequel with Denzel Washington of the Magnificent Seven. You're referring to, by the way,
Brenner.
the Yul Brenner, Steve
Yeah.
McQueen one.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are
Robert
lost.
Vaughn.
Yeah. I used to call him
Charles
Bobby Vaughn.
Bronson.
Charles Bronson. No, it's James Coburn. It's a brilliant movie, so much fun, but based on
the Seven Samurai, which is a visual feast to see the Seven Samurai. If you ever get to see
Hold
it.
on a second here. You're using the term visual feast?
Yeah.
What are you, a critic?
No, it just came
You
out.
have to find something to write in your New York Times review?
It just came. That's how I see
feast.
it. It's visually
I
one
might
of
as
the
well
most
call it a
beautiful
roller
movies.
coaster ride.
Okay. So Larry then asks the waiter, the Japanese waiter, if it's common in Japan for a professional person, a doctor, an acupuncturist, whatever, to send orchids. And he gets a very angry response from the waiter. We don't really know why. Was the waiter told to give an angry response?
Oh, most definitely.
He was.
That was in
Okay.
the script, for sure.
Okay, that was in the outline.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
And then Larry's...
And by the way, lovely man.
Yeah, and then and a terrific job.
Yeah.
And then Larry's estate lawyer comes by, who was played by Scott Adsit.
Yes.
And I forgot his name. I have it written down
The
later.
character's name, Joel.
Joel. Okay. Joe or Joel?
Joel.
Joel. And he's wearing, casual Friday
Well, he's wearing, I
outfit.
believe, a denim shirt and denim pants.
That was later on. This time he's wearing like a corduroy shirt or something,
Yes,
whatever.
but it is casual.
What are you doing? You're not working today?
Yeah, I'm going back right now.
What's with the outfit?
Oh, it's casual Friday.
I don't like this. I don't like this casual.
What are you, my mother?
You're encroaching in my territory. I want you people to be uncomfortable all the time.
Well, listen, you don't like this, you should come by on Naked Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But here's
And
the
Larry
thing.
says 5 to 10 years, it's going to be casual Monday. It's no
Hold
good.
on. Let's take a step back.
And then he says, people like you walking around looking like people like me.
Yeah, I
to
like
you.
the separation of church and state, if you will.
Right.
But I want to say something. Larry was saying that as a joke, and it's turned out to be true. Only a top law firm. People wear suits. You go to a lot of law firms, they're dressed like
Changed,
that.
especially post-pandemic.
Yeah, post-pandemic, they're wearing pajamas to work. They're Larry Charles.
Yes. And then the flambe comes. So we meet the lawyer. It's my estate lawyer. Hello, casual Friday, blunt, and then he leaves. And then and Scott Adsit also. Let's just talk about him a little bit. Terrific actor.
Yes.
Great
Great
comedic
improviser,
actor.
Second City guy, went on to 30 Rock, a delightful gentleman, a delightful improviser. There you go.
And a delightful human being.
Yes.
And then the flambe
Well, by
comes.
the way, if you're a delightful gentleman, aren't you automatically
I would hope so.
Well, yeah, then you need to add that.
Okay. Well, I was adding that I feel he's a delightful human being.
That is different.
Okay.
You can add your opinion even if I've just said it.
So then the flambe comes, and that's the reason you went there in the first place. And before the flambe is lit on fire, you mentioned you set up a meeting with Julia at ABC, which
Right.
will come to fruition in a later episode.
Yes.
And the waiter lights.
It comes into fruition in the doll
Yes, it does.
because we're recording this season out of order.
Yes. And he lights the flambe on fire, and his arm catches fire, and Larry pours water.
But hold on a second here. there's excitement.
Oh, yeah.
From everyone in the restaurant and me that the dude's arm is on fire. So it's not Larry assuming or seeing a little bit of fire. His arm
was on fire.
And the
I
idea
found it quite obvious, though, that he was wearing one of those fire sleeves.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Usually
always
you notice
noticing
those
the
things and
technical
not
thing.
me.
And that's so funny that you noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really
Did you know
on fire.
His tie was made of chocolate.
Yeah,
People don't
that
notice
I didn't notice.
Okay.
It's really on fire, and Larry instinctively, correctly, takes the glass of water and pours it on his arm.
And he's patting it down, too.
Yes. And the waiter is not happy about this.
Yeah.
Not one iota. He's not
Yeah.
a happy man, this waiter. All right, cut to, we're at Larry's house.
Yes.
And where's Jeff? Because you're picking them up. They're going to the surprise party. You're late. And Cheryl's like, why'd you ask him why couldn't we meet him? Larry, I couldn't say no. Knock on the door. Jeff's late. Why is Jeff late? Because the room service was late in coming. When, of course, you're going to a party.
Hold on. He said it. I said that to the effect of, you understand. Like, I didn't say it like, oh, I'm terribly sorry, but you understand.
Yeah, the room
when
service
the food
was
comes late.
which also made no sense because you're going to a party. Why are you waiting for room service? You're going to eat at the party.
No. I got to say something in defense of that makes sense to me. You'll order room service that's supposed to get to you by 8:30 because you're leaving at 8:45 or
And
9.
it doesn't.
It doesn't get there till 9. That's, by the way, unless you're at a great hotel, it even happens some of the great hotels, that pretty much is, it's like Instacart or DoorDash. They're always coming late. Always. So whatever time they tell you for
I
estimation.
hope they're not our sponsors.
I hope they are because I still use them. I just know realistically when
But
they
I
might
just
come.
found it odd that you're eating before you leave when you're going to a party where there's going to be food.
You can call that odd. What character are we talking about?
Okay,
I'm
you're right.
gluttonous to a fault.
So you're late.
Yeah.
And then Larry comes down and Cheryl does not like his outfit. He's wearing jeans. He's wearing blue and black.
I find it more, for me, if I'm an observer in that scene, I say to him, you look terrible. But
which I found a little out of character. That's
I think I'm kissing Cheryl's ass.
Probably.
But also, it wasn't, the costumers made it ill-fitting. It didn't fit right.
Yeah.
Now, he wears the same kind of clothes and they fit beautifully. Who's say
noticing?
Anything? Yeah.
But it was all story purpose because there had to be a reason why you were all late. So Larry goes up and changes.
But hold on. When he goes up and changes, he talks about the elephant in the room. And that is, and I don't know why I was given this. It was not in the script, a fucking lime green shirt.
Correct.
Suddenly I'm your character.
Yes.
I mean, a lime green, I hate that
Although
lime green.
I could see Jeff Green wearing that lime green.
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, he's a man. He's he either wears like golf style clothes or he wears his insane ties with ill-fitting suits. Back then, they would buy me really cheap suits that felt like a burlap bag. Is that right? Burlap?
Yes.
Yeah, bag. They didn't fit at all.
It's quite interesting to me seeing these early episodes, how the looks have changed over the seasons.
They went from, shit to, I know every suit of mine is Xenia on the show.
But let me point out, very importantly, the budget has completely changed. In the early years, we had a very low
and
budget.
as I mentioned before, even then, they referred to us as their little experimental show that went on to currently be the longest running show in HBO history.
But they didn't have a budget for Xenia suits back then. No way.
No. I know that.
I'm letting
just
the
saying,
audience know.
Yeah, but it looks like shit.
Yeah.
I look like a sloth. My character's a sloth, so maybe it's appropriate for my character, but give me a fucking break. A lime green shirt.
So Larry has to change, more time wasted.
Yeah.
And then they get to the party and they ruin the surprise. Now, I found, and Cheryl has a gift that they pull up just when Barry and Carol are pulling up.
Wow, this is so bizarre.
So you got him, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't you go, you two go in and we'll wait out.
What is that?
Oh,
It's my birthday.
Yeah.
well, that's why we got you a birthday gift.
He told us
Why
it was
would
your
you have
birthday.
gotten-
Because he told me it was your birthday, so I
And
knew I
he
was going
was
to
at
stop
the
by for the
deli.
sunglasses and
It's from the three of us.
There's a surprise party in that house.
You're having a surprise party? What? You didn't invite us?
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry, Carol.
He had to change his outfit.
You are so selfish.
And Cheryl has a gift, and the whole thing is ruined.
And by the way, that actress who plays the wife is Ruthie Rudnick.
Yeah.
Another compadre of mine who was wonderful from Second City. She was great. I didn't remember, I didn't think she was bad, but I didn't remember how good she was.
And she says to Larry, "You are so selfish."
Yeah.
And
by the way,
surprise.
my wife's, my ex's 30th birthday, surprise birthday party, which to this day, couldn't hate surprise parties more. Hate. Receiving or going. But it's fun when you're younger. Let's all hide. Get under the desk.
Well, the funniest was in a later season when Susie gives Jeff a surprise party.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that, but that was hilarious.
That was really funny. And I was barely in that episode. And my dear friend, Aaron O'Malley, directed that episode. And it was just weird that the episode that I'm barely in, she directed.
But you mentioned the whole episode.
Yes, I mentioned the whole episode. But
Carol's very...
Yes.
Carol Wiener is very upset about this. And do you believe what they did to me?
What I was about to say before I went off on a tangent is this exact thing happened with an old girlfriend of mine who Marla was friendly with. And she had come early like that, or she mentioned it on a phone call. Point being is Marla knew. And she was not happy about it.
That the surprise was ruined.
Yes.
I would rather the surprise be ruined. I would rather know.
Well, by the way, we just stated we hate surprise parties.
I would rather know.
By the way, my own surprise party, I ain't going.
Well, you might not know.
No. Well, then I'm leaving.
Okay.
You throw me a surprise party. I'm just telling anyone out there. By the way, no one gives a shit about me, even my friends.
Throwing you a surprise
That's
party.
exactly right. And I just turned 60. That would have been the time. But I just want to say, know that I don't want to go to a surprise party either as a guest or a surprisee, and I will leave in both cases.
So we see Larry talking to, that's out there, we all know that.
No. But by the way, I've also been the person who takes the person
so have I,
and
I had to ruin it. My friend Jane, because she refused to stay away from, and finally I had to say, okay, they're making a surprise party, okay? We have to stay at this cafe for another half hour.
Right.
It's her fault. So Larry's having a whole conversation about the Civil War. Did we really need the South? What was the whole point of keeping the South?
Hold on, I want to say something here. He knew I think it's 6,000 that we lost.
600,000.
600,000. And Larry and I in New York had a bet. This was years later, so I didn't remember this episode, but we had a bet about how many casualties were in the Civil War. And I was way off. I didn't say 6,000, but...
Well, 6,000 is ridiculous.
But I was way off. He always wins the bets, and I've mentioned that on the show before. But what's funny is we're going to breakfast to have our final, I did research, you did research, here's what it is. On the way there, this sounds like it's exaggerated. It is exactly what happened. On the side of the street, a homeless man was selling the entire Time Life books, the Civil War. Now, I would have bought it in a second if it was one volume, but he was only.
It's a big
I wanted to buy one volume. It was only as a set.
Selling it as a set. He's smart.
But hold on. I go there and we settle the thing I've lost. Going back, I thought, let me try and give him a lot of money for one volume. It'll be funny on set if I hand it to Larry. They were all gone.
Oh, somebody bought it.
Someone bought it. Because I'm sure it was a good price.
Probably.
Yeah. And they probably had their pull wagon. They could just load it into their wagon.
Their
fire engine red wagon.
Yeah, what is that called again?
So something flyer.
Something flyer, yeah.
American flyer.
I just got one for my granddaughter. Yeah. And that was real. I really do have a granddaughter.
I know, I'm always saying that.
Okay, and then we see Cheryl talking to Mr. Wiener, Barry's father, played by the great Ed Asner.
And by the way, I wrote down in with a big exclamation point, Ed Asner. Now, I can't say how much joy the Mary Tyler Moore gave to me.
Yes.
Saturday night
and Ed
in
Asner
Chicago,
played Lou Grant.
Yes. So Saturday night was Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart, and the Carol Burnett Show. The other half-hour slot was always rotating. None of those shows did well. But to have Carol Burnett, where I learned so much about comedy, Bob Newhart, where I saw how you do that kind of show, and Mary Tyler Moore, all this historic stuff. So seeing Ed Asner, and when I was a kid, I thought he was mean. I'm like, why is he so mean to Mary? But that's his character.
That's his character. But he's pretty gruff in
there's
this
a difference
episode.
of him in this episode.
Well, he's edgy in this episode.
No, it's not even that. He's a Lothario.
Oh, well, yes, with
and
Cheryl.
I fucking hated
Absolutely.
That.
With Cheryl,
but he played it, and he was great.
And he's playing Barry's father, and Cheryl's talking to him about her environmental stuff, the NRDC, and he's flirting with her and being inappropriate with her. And they talk about, outfit approval. And so he wants to contribute. But we know he doesn't give a shit about the NRDC. He's just flirting with Cheryl.
And by the way, what blows my mind is that here's another change
I'd like to get
Cheryl.
to know you, he says.
But but this is another moment where Cheryl would have realized that right away. It was out of character.
Yeah.
And then I also say, that chair that Cheryl was in, don't think I didn't sit there and talk all night to Ed Asner.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember clearly sitting in that chair asking him a million questions from the Mary Tyler Moore show, where he lived when they filmed at Roscommere Road. And it just everything about how he handles this. And at that point, he'd already been the president of SAG.
Yeah.
I had so many questions to ask him. And by the way, people don't know this. One of the people that helped start Second City.
Ed Asner.
He
had a great career.
He was part of a skit called University of Chicago Football Team. It's a school for brilliant people. They've never had a football team, but it's about a coach trying to express how to play, and he has to use all this intellectual stuff. It's a pretty brilliant skit.
Can we see it on YouTube or something, or no?
I don't.
Probably
By
not.
the way, I did see a video of it, VHS, when I was in Second City. We had access to the history of the thing, and
So
I
maybe
think
it's out there somewhere.
It could be out there. Don't know.
Viewers, take a look. I love when he says, "How did that schlub ever
Hold on,
marry
let's take
you?"
a step back. Viewers, take a look. That sounds like no enthusiasm.
Well, it's not something I'm greatly enthusiastic about.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
And then, but at least you're honest. Not writing me off.
Mr. Wiener says, "How did that schlub ever marry you?" That I was enthusiastic about. I love Larry being called a schlub.
No. By the way, that one I get. And
then Larry sits down with Mr. Wiener.
Yeah.
And it digs a hole and
by
asks,
the way, okay, go ahead.
asks him if he knows about the custom of Japanese men giving orchids.
Okay, now this is something that runs through Larry's character through the whole show, and that is asking questions to people
Inappropriately.
not even inappropriately, who definitely do not know the answer, and it may offend them to one degree or another.
Well, clearly, because Mr. Wiener's response was, "I don't know what they do in Japan. They may take it up the ass in Japan."
Yeah.
Which I was like, well, everything about this episode was so weird.
Yeah, but Larry would have never allowed that now because it's too crude.
I know.
He wanted him to go more subtle, but I loved him saying that.
Then he asked Larry, "What are you doing these days?" He says he's going to do a pilot with maybe working with Julia. And he's like, "Oh, you know her?" So he didn't even know. Mr. Wiener didn't even know that Larry had created Seinfeld. And you must have made a bundle, he says to him. And then Larry goes into his thing.
I'm very lucky. Yeah. And I'll tell you something. I'm lucky that I had a father who was so supportive of me, because without him, it never would have happened. I was working in a dry cleaner. I didn't tell him. I had no money, but I needed to support myself. And then one day, he found out about it. Next thing I knew, he said to me, "Listen, I got a lot of money. I'm gonna give you this money anyway. After I die, let me give you some now."
Your father left you money before he died?
Yes, he did. He gave me a quarter of what I was gonna get in the will, and that enabled me to go out and start writing. I never would have gotten Seinfeld if not for him.
He gave me the money while he was alive because he knew that I was working in the dry cleaner. I was living in this horrible place with a Barca lounger, and on and on and on and on.
Two things I want to say. First off, stuff like that was not in the script back then.
No, that's all.
Now our scripts are so dense that it goes into a little of what he would say. Sometimes
if
more.
it's story appropriate.
No, I'm saying, but that is story.
Yeah.
But back then, he just improvised the fuck out of that, did it different every time. But I think that money speech is the high point of the show.
Yeah.
It's the moment, the zenith, where I look at Larry with awe and wonder as he's coming up with something that is on this side of believability. If you know the character, he's full of shit.
He's making it up.
But it sounds just believable enough, but you can still be skeptical.
We see Mr. Wiener listening to this diatribe.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Do you know an estate lawyer?" And Larry recommends Joel Reynolds, who we've met already, Scott Adsit. And Weiner says he wants to make a change right away, and his lawyer's in Acapulco. He can't wait to make the change. Now, it's set up to think that Larry's going to believe that what Larry said is influencing
well, they all
him.
have a different opinion.
But the viewer, as a viewer, I knew it was going to backfire. I knew he was going to leave the money to the NRDC.
But that's what I thought. We did not know what we find out later, which was he cuts his son out of the will. That's why he wanted him in that moment.
I actually thought that watching it, that was what's going to happen.
Oh, I thought it was NRDC.
I thought it was both. I thought he was going to cut his son out and leave it to the NRDC.
Okay.
Larry thinks his whole ploy was successful. And then he says, I love your wife. And he says, what kind of change? And Mr. Weiner says, you'll find out. And Larry looks very pleased with himself because he thought, look at the mitzvah I just did.
Yes.
And then on the phone with Cheryl.
What's on the phone with Cheryl?
Maybe he'll make a contribution. Oh, Cheryl's on the phone. And Cheryl's going to go meet Mr. Weiner for lunch.
Which again makes no sense because she would have invited Larry with
because he was a creepy guy.
By the way, yes. Which, by the way, the gentleman that I talked to, the opposite.
Oh,
a gentleman, Ed
Asner.
What an open, warm guy.
Playing a part.
Yeah, and his son was very nice. I mean, is very nice.
And Cheryl leaves to go meet Mr. Weiner at a restaurant, and Barry Weiner drives up and is pissed at Larry. Did you tell my father a story about a dry cleaner? And you and Cheryl had a conspiracy to try to cut me out of the will. He's giving everything. I'm cut out of the will. He's giving everything to the NRDC.
Now, we did something unusual here. We never do what's going on here, what's going on there, what's going on here. Was it intercutting two scenes at once? I don't think we've ever done it since.
Yeah, I can't
unusual.
recall.
We might as well have 4 squares and people talking on the phone.
But that's why this all
like
felt so weird.
Birdie.
You know what I mean?
It was off. The episode was really off.
Not just the content, but the way it was shot and everything felt weird about this episode.
It felt a bit off, I will say. But also remember, back then, we're all doing the best that we can. We didn't realize that the episode, in retrospect, would come out like this. We thought we were doing a pretty good thing. And I do think that there might have been an explanation for the flowers that we never got or why that guy reacted that way. But it was either cut out because of time or it was just left. I don't remember.
So Mr. Weiner goes to see Joel Reynolds, and Joel Reynolds is now dressed in a jean shirt
Casual Friday.
and jeans. And Weiner is who's like an older man in a suit, is completely puzzled.
What's this outfit? Is it a Halloween party or what is it?
Oh, no, it's Casual Friday.
Casual Friday, what does that mean?
That means we just dress like we would at home.
But you're not at home.
No, but it is Casual Friday, so.
Yeah, I know, and you told me that already. What do you do on Casual Friday?
Well, we just come in and do our work, but we dress casually.
I don't like it.
Well, it's just one day of the week.
I don't give a damn if it's half a day a week. I don't like it. I'm here to change my will. A lot of money is involved. It's very important to me.
Oh, we wouldn't treat you casually.
Then why the hell you dress that way? I want you to be on cutting edge, man, whenever you're handling my business.
This is cutting edge.
I don't need this crap. You look like a fucking cowboy.
I don't like it. And Joel Reynolds, well, we wouldn't treat you casually. Then why the hell do you dress that way? He was great at Asner. You look like a fucking cowboy. You go wrangle somebody else's money,
Right.
So Weiner walks out. He has not changed the will because he does not like the way that Joel Reynolds is dressed. And then we cut back to Barry and Larry. It's what you were just saying. It's a weird intercut. And Barry's like, you got to talk to him. You got to convince him that I didn't put you up to it. And then while he's doing that, the acupuncturist secretary calls to confirm his appointment with Larry. And Larry says, I can't do the appointment. And the receptionist says, how are you feeling? And Larry says, I'm better.
Which really could be taken out of context. That the feeling better is different than I'm better.
Yeah, correct.
So
but he gets to that later. And then Larry goes to the Japanese restaurant, and Cheryl's getting drunk on sake. And Larry shows up because he wants to talk to Mr. Weiner about giving Barry back his money and tell him, he says, Barry didn't put me up to it. And Larry locks eyes with the same angry waiter who had been there before. And the waiter throws water in Larry's face because Larry had thrown water on the waiter prior to this, but the water goes
Larry ducks.
And the
hits
water goes
Ed
into
Asner.
Mr. Wiener's face, and Mr. Wiener...
And his suit, the whole thing.
The whole thing, and Mr. Wiener drops dead of a heart attack.
Well, he doesn't drop from the water. He gets up and he's angry, and then he can't articulate, and boom, he's dead.
He's dead.
Stroke, heart attack, whatever it is.
It all splashes, edamame and all that splashes up on Larry. And then we're at the Shiva. And you're there.
Yep.
Jeff is there. And, it's so sudden, so unexpected, Barry says. He's full of shit because he couldn't wait for it to happen. And we find out Larry was the last one to see him alive. So it's really Larry's fault.
Right. Well,
in a sense.
That is carried, that part of the episode, by Doug Benson.
Yes.
Comedian Doug Benson.
Who plays a relative, Doug.
Who plays his nephew.
Yeah.
And Doug was great. And I had fun with him because we're both, we've known each other for years. He was one of the guys like Judd Apatow where Doug and I would open for terrible headliners, who went on to nothing, and we'd be the opening acts. Doug Benson, myself, Judd Apatow, more so Judd Apatow. But it is so interesting to look back on.
Yeah. It's a lifetime, it's a career.
Yeah.
And Larry tells a story about how he botched an umbilical cord, and the kid won't talk to him, and Barry takes him aside, thanks him, and gives him a $5,000 check.
Oh, this is a
No.
little awkward.
I told you you'd get it as soon as he died, and you made it happen.
I didn't make anything happen. I mean,
You kind of did.
Oh,
That's just great, Larry. You got your money back.
What?
The check.
What check? What are you talking about?
Larry lent Barry $5,000. The condition was, when his dad passed away, he would get the money back.
Excuse me, there was no condition.
Oh, I get it. You took $5,000.
What?
You're a bounty hunter.
Oh,
you
stop
murdered
it.
my uncle for
Murdered.
$5,000.
Come on, please.
Cousin Doug accuses him of being a bounty hunter, and all hell breaks loose, and they all attack him, and Doug grabs him by the neck and gets him in a neck hold, and we hear a crunch, and we know he's got to go back to the acupuncturist.
Well, by the way, that's a beautiful transition to going back to the Japanese doctor,
It's a very curb transition.
Very curb transition, and it makes total sense.
And Larry is at the acupuncturist, and the acupuncturist with a beautiful woman, a very pretty wife, which we never find out why.
Mm-hmm.
That is another piece that was never really resolved. And the acupuncturist says, you already owe me. You want to make another deal? I'll fix your neck again. You want to make another deal because you already owe me $5,000. And Larry's like, I don't owe you $5,000. And we go into this whole, the receptionist said you were better.
It's
better,
semantics.
blah, blah, blah.
They're both wrong, and they're
After
both
I treated
right.
you, you were better. Better is better.
Yeah.
And then the acupuncturist goes into, you caused me great shame with my family. How do you intend to pay? And he endorses Barry's check.
But also he does ask the doctor about the orchids.
After he endorses Barry's check, he says to the doctor, so I got the orchids. And the doctor says, ancient Japanese custom. And we don't know if that's true or not. And we end on that. It was so odd.
Hold on. Is this the first time, or did I mention it before, where the staring with Larry? Did it happen before this? Because they do
a stare down.
There's no special music, whatever. It is a version of the stare down, which
is perfected later.
Yeah, it tickled Larry, so we brought it back. But I wonder if this is the first time that happened.
I don't know, because we did see it in this season, and because Jeff and Susie are recording these out of order, I don't know if it has happened before or after this. I don't know.
Did you just go third person on us? You said Jeff and Susie.
Yeah, I'm saying
referring to us,
but as opposed to
Are you
Jeff
that
Green.
pretentious?
No, as opposed to Jeff Green and Susie Green. I was saying.
You have to clarify that.
Well, I mean, some people confuse us, and
by the way,
that.
I think that you're a little elitist. I think that you're full of yourself. I mean, by the way, that notepad is very Susie.
It is, isn't it? I just
Susie
grabbed
Green.
it at CVS, and I like it.
Yeah.
But
hold it up here. Here's your camera to the right. What are you doing?
I had to look at something.
This is yours. Hold up the notebook so we know what we're talking about. Or there. Yeah, there you go. That's a Susie Green notebook. No person with a normal mind buys
That's
that
not
notebook.
true. Here's the thing about the Susie Green wardrobe. A lot of people wear animal prints, but they just don't wear them in combination with other animal prints.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the
I've
whole
never
thing.
been a big animal print guy.
I don't see you in animal print. I don't think it would look good on you.
I don't even like the Cincinnati Bengals football team, because of the prints.
The prints on
and the
the
Jacksonville Jaguars, not a fan.
No.
Just based on their uniforms.
So let's just wrap up this episode. It was a strange episode.
Very strange episode.
In many ways, in the way it was shot, in the way it was
the whole
cut,
groove
in
about
the content.
It could have been Brian Gordon who directed. This is coming on later for the special section.
Yeah, but I don't think it was Brian. There was something.
No. I'm just saying all the things put together that may have added to it. It's a new voice coming in.
It felt odd, didn't it?
It just did feel. It felt very odd. So I'm not blaming Brian Gordon.
Yeah.
Because maybe I was off, Larry was off, but I'm saying all the ingredients just didn't mix.
Yeah, it just,
and especially having things hang in the air
and things that didn't make sense. Just sitting there, the orchids, and that why is the waiter so angry? And
that's it.
Yeah, and the next episode.
Yeah,
this was episode 6. Next episode, episode 7, one of everybody's favorites, including my own.
Which is what?
The doll.
Oh, well, yes, with our special guest.
Our special guest next time will be
Larry David.
And
that's the show he won. We've told him, and he didn't argue, that he's going to come on once a year.
Yeah.
He had a great time. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But we at least get him for this. So and it was all interesting stuff.
We're doing a tease now that next episode, Larry will be on with us.
When you were younger and the boys would come, did anyone ever say, "Don't tease me" to you?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. And yes, Susie is pretentious with her notepad. Thank you, Tuni. She's already bringing her
getting
food
my
out.
lunch. I got to go.
All right, bye, Ray. Thank you.